Hello everyone, a little bit later than usual. Welcome into the SCE Live podcast. My name's Sam. As always, I've got my trusted friend and podcast sidekick and computer illiterate friend, Mr. Chris Vans.
Yeah, do you know what? You've tethered me all week on this. How many? No, I'm gonna say now. How many emails have you sent me this week? And how many have I had not bounced back?
Well, to be fair, you've had a fair few come through, which is very, very good. But you can. Well, this is the thing. I'm the one that's sending the messages on your behalf, so you can't say nothing. You can't say nothing. Listen, folks, do us a favour. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. On Facebook, it's at SCE Live. A little bit obvious, you're probably watching us on Facebook, so you probably already follow us. Make sure that you share this post as well. Share it to all your friends and family. Make sure that they get onto SCE Live and all the fantastic acts that we have. On Twitter, we are SCE Live Enter 1, and on Instagram, we are at SCE Live UK. Well, tonight, folks, the footy's back, but that's not what's important. What is important tonight is introducing our guest for this evening, and that is Miss Lara Simpson. How you doing?
Hey!
How you doing?
You? I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Now, you've had a busy day today. Tell the folks at home what you've been up to today.
What have I been doing today? I've been tidying my room specially for this podcast.
I think that was my fault. I said, I think it's best if you tidy up your room, please, Lara.
Yeah. I've just been teaching on Zoom, like standard day in the life of a musician in lockdown, really.
It's quite similar to Chris, really, because Chris you've been doing quite a few Zoom lessons, haven't you, mate?
I have. I've been working on using my technological skills to my advantage. Look, how I got that one in there.
It's taken me a while to get the hang of it, to be fair. I think I've finally passed it 2 months down the line.
It's really, have you noticed how tiring it is?
Yeah.
It's proper time. When I do a bit of the evening and stuff like that, it's exhausting talking constantly.
Yeah, you can't really have a minute off, can you?
No.
You've got to always be listening.
And the way you do it,
with Wi-Fi, that's another issue in itself, isn't it?
I've done it where you're one after the other, and you just don't have a second. It's hard work.
I know, yeah. And it's a funny one as well when that cuts out, because it's hard to tell whether it's like the person can't do it, or if it's just like if they're frozen, or if it's actually switching to the piece and you just don't have a clue.
I mean, I kind of want to say it's easier for people who play an instrument, but as a singer, it's very difficult to teach someone over Zoom. Obviously, it's everything from posture to breathing technique. For me, I think it's very difficult to do it over Zoom, but I know some of the stories that you've been saying, Chris, of children getting it wrong, and you just want to jump through the screen.
I had a brilliant one yesterday where a kid was playing a trick on me, and he pretended to freeze. And I was like, and then I could just see him smiling. I thought,
Have you had they've been putting on virtual backgrounds, so they'll turn up for their lesson and they're just like in San Francisco in front of the Golden Gate Bridge without any warning whatsoever.
That's amazing. No, I've not had it, but I might start introducing it into my method.
I was teaching a violin lesson, and I think he was in space somewhere, maybe on the moon, and I couldn't figure out how to get him off, so I just let him stay there. That was an interesting one. It's hard to do violin though over Zoom, because violin is very much like to do with the posture and things.
So what do you do? Are you just kind of angling the camera so people can see your fingers mainly, or?
Yeah, as long as I can see them. I need to be able to see like the whole violin and all the hands and stuff. But another one of the problems is tuning as well with the violin, because it's really difficult to tune. So I'm trying to teach all these parents who've never like even picked up a violin before how to tune a violin, which is something you don't even learn for like years after like started playing it. So that's been a challenge.
I feel your pain. What I've been doing now is every kid that you see, there's a guitar out of tune, and you kind of got to match it, and you're like, right, turn it a little bit, right, bit more. Stop. No,
I know. I had one mum that just gave up, and she just came and like dropped the violin off at my house in the middle of lockdown. And she but she couldn't go near me, so she put the violin in the middle of the street, and we were just like hoping no cars would come and like smash the violin.
You're spending nearly half the lesson just tuning the bloody thing.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Sometimes, especially when they're like beginners as well, because they don't stay in the right place. But yeah, at least everyone's learning new skills, you know.
Yeah, I started to teach a nurse who wanted to just have a bit of a change from what's going on, and she got a brand new guitar, so we had to tune in a brand new guitar.
Yeah.
Scratch, first lesson over a screen.
Yeah.
First, she smashed it, and she can now tune in, and she's doing great. It's brilliant.
Good. That's really good. Impressive.
So take us all the way back then, Lara. Take us back to day one, picking up the violin. What inspired you to pick up that violin? Was it a person, a family member? Tell us.
I honestly, this is probably the most boring answer I could possibly give, but I actually can't remember like why I started. It must have been through school or something. They must have been offering lessons, and I remember at the very beginning, me and my mum couldn't figure out why I wasn't making any noise, because you know when you have to put like rosin on the bow. Yeah. So at the very beginning, we thought the violin was broken. Speaking of like all these problems on Zoom, yeah, we didn't understand it, but yeah. Then somebody told us you have to put this special thing on the bow, and then we figured it out. But yeah, I mean, I've just been playing it ever since I can remember, really. But I think the reason why I've sort of carried it on was definitely because of my teacher, because I just thought she was the coolest person ever. Like, she had like this black spiky hair, and she used to wear like gold shoes, and she used to like smoke cigarettes, and I was like, you're so cool. And she used to play for the Bee Gees as well, and Shirley Bassey. Wow. So, yeah, when I was a teenager, I was just like, I want to be like you. And obviously she was like an amazing violinist as well. Like, she used to play in the Liverpool Phil, so yeah, she was really cool. But I think it was mainly her, because I just wanted to be like her. So I just decided to do violin. But she was amazing. She was a real inspiration.
I think that's important with it. You've got to be inspired by the teacher, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
You've got to be inspired. If you're not inspired by the teacher, it's pretty hard to get the motivation.
Yeah, definitely.
Constantly. I think everyone has their own ways of teaching, their own methods of teaching. But I think if it's fun and you keep it entertaining, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely. Like, my teacher, we were always playing. Like, she wouldn't just show me a piece and I had to sit there and listen to her for 5 minutes. Like, should we just play it together? And she used to disguise exam pieces as like fun pieces, because people, you know, kids don't really want to like practice their exam. So she'd be like, right, I've got this really fun piece. And then once I'd finish it all, she'd be like, oh, and by the way, that's in the exam syllabus. So then I would be like ready for my exam without having thought that I was doing something boring. So stuff like that she probably kept it really fun. So yeah, she was cool.
Did you ever like the school orchestra, anything like that, or
join? Yeah, I was in Bradford Youth Orchestra. Shout out to Bradford Youth Orchestra, and Leeds Youth Orchestra as well. So they were great, and the conductor of Leeds Youth Orchestra was amazing. He was called Dougie Scarf, and he was really inspirational too. And he was like so invested in the orchestra, and like, yeah, he was great. So I think playing in youth orchestras makes a big difference as well, because then you have like musical friends as well. Obviously going on band camp, great times. Yeah, so I think that was a big part of it too, because I had lots of friends who played violin too.
Did you join the Philharmonic Orchestra or anything?
So when I came to Liverpool, I joined the Philharmonic Youth Orchestra, because I went to LIPA. So LIPA's more of a commercial place, but there's not very many classical musicians, so it's mainly keyboard players, drummers, bassists, singers, but there's like one string player. Pardon?
Definitely singers. I know a good teacher from.
I wonder who you're talking about. It's me, by the way. It's me. Anyway, it's all about you, Lara. Go on.
I didn't realise you went to.
I didn't. Well, that's the key point. I didn't, but I work as a 4-19 teacher, singing teacher, and then all this coronavirus happened, and then yeah. But anyway, going back to you, it's all about the drummers and the pianists and all that are more pop orientated, and then you've come up to Liverpool to join the Liverpool Phil.
Yeah. So there wasn't. I think I was the only violinist in my year, and there was like one in the year above. So I was like, how do I find all these string players? So that's why I joined the Phil Youth, because I was like hunting down people to play with, and it worked. And that's where I found the people that I set the string quartet up with in the Phil Youth. And yeah, it was good to keep up my classical technique as well, because Lipper was very pop based and stuff. So
did
yeah.
you? I'm assuming that you brought your violin into that degree that you did at Lipper. How difficult, or was it easy to be a part of that pop environment with a violin?
I thought it was really good in a lot of ways, because you were quite rare. Like, everybody, if they wanted strings, they would just ask you, not even because you were good, just because they had no one else to ask. So like, you'd always get asked to do like playing the shows, and if they were people like recording a song for a project and they wanted strings, they just asked you. So I think it was really good in that way. But the challenge that I found was keeping up with classical technique, because like Lipper is, well, you probably know, it's all about like playing in bands and like working in the industry, and you're judged on that, which is good, but not so much on your like
technique,
your classical technique.
I get that.
Found it easy to let that slide a bit, so that's why I was like forcing myself to do the orchestra and stuff like that.
Was it of benefit to you? You felt like you got something out of being in the Youth Liverpool Phil?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that I don't know how else I would have met all other string players in Liverpool, really. Like, it was definitely a good way. And yeah, just the music was amazing. And we did this, we got to play in the Phil Hall as well, which was really cool. And the conductor of the actual Philharmonic Orchestra, Vasily Petrenko, we did like a side-by-side day with them. So we got to play with the orchestra, and then we did a concert where he conducted us, which was really scary. But it was a good experience. So yeah, I definitely recommend it to people who might be doing a more classical thing.
Do you remember the audition process? Because I'll probably show this to people who are wanting to go into the Phil. What's the process like of auditioning? I mean, I think the youth choir the youth choir was about 11 or 12 you could probably get in. But I didn't know the orchestra side, so if you want to enlighten people about the Phil orchestra side, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the age. I think it's probably similar to the choir, the age range. I know that I think the oldest is 23 or something. Okay. But I think for the audition, you had to sort of send in a brief biography and just why you wanted to join. But I know that it was just playing two contrasting pieces. So it was kind of quite up to you what you wanted to play. And then you had to play in front of like a panel of people. I think one was the conductor, one was somebody from the actual Phil, and then maybe somebody who works for the Liverpool Philharmonic Company. So yeah, and you just practice, you just play by yourself. It's all just acoustic, but you can decide what you want to play. And then I think you have sight reading as well. So they give you like an excerpt that you have to learn from one of the pieces that you're going to be doing that season. But you do get a chance to like practice that beforehand. So just like for a little bit in the building. So yeah, they were all really nice and everything. So it wasn't too scary.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's just intense, I find. But I find so heavy.
I hate sight reading on piano because it's like too much to think about. I hate that.
Yeah, but the more did you ever get pieces there and you think, oh my goodness, what is this?
Yeah. I think for the first time you look at it, definitely like, how am I going to work this out? But you do get a little chance to play it through. Yeah. And then when you're in the orchestra, they do it slowly. Like, you're learning it over a long period of time, so it's not too scary.
Well, I do my degree. Yeah, you obviously study pieces and follow it. And I reckon for the first 6 months, I was just looking at like, oh my goodness, all right. Yeah. And then at points, you'd like, right, I know what I'm gonna turn, because you just look at the person next to you, turn the page, and you think, all right, on the next page.
Yeah, it's easy to hide in an orchestra. You can just mime if you want and just hope nobody notices. But if everybody did that, then that'd be a problem.
Oh yeah, it'd be amazing. Everyone did the same thing. It'd just be the silent orchestra.
Yeah, everybody had the same cunning plan.
Liverpool's an amazing place, though. When you go and watch an orchestra, it's just the most amazing place to listen to music. I like going to see when they have this special nights on when they do the film scores.
Yeah, definitely. I love that as well.
It's absolutely brilliant. I think the last one I did was... What did I do?
There's Star Wars. I know Star Wars was on recently, unless that might have been coming up. I think coronavirus is...
did one recently. I can't remember what it was, but we it was a great atmosphere in it, and I wanted it. I'll tell you the one I did want to see because it's my favourite film, and I was gutted to miss it. Jaws.
Oh yeah.
Jaws.
That'd be amazing.
And it was sort of little Louis, little Louis, Rick's grandson. He about it, and I was like, when was it on? And I missed it.
That's cool. I saw them doing Psycho. It was like the night before Halloween, and they did the Psycho score. And like the really famous bit when he gets the knife, and it's like, yeah, that bit, it was amazing. It was so cool.
When I hear the violins in school, it's like you've got to have the proper patience to teach violin, because you see the school shows and you just get that lovely sound, and it's just like you've got to give it because it takes proper guts to get on stage and play an instrument. And even if it's not quite there, you just give them all the praise and it's so hard to. I remember I had to do a school, or the couple of music teachers are offering one of the schools I go to, and I had to do the Christmas show, and I had to do the flutes and the violins.
How did that go?
The thing is, only you would be called in to do that. This is the thing.
Right. I had to get some years kids who were like, they'd been playing a few years to just like help the other kids it was carnage. But the kids did brilliant, and they all pulled it together. But it was just like, right, what can you play on the flute? What can you play on the violin?
Unbelievable.
I've done that before. I've got myself into a situation where I think somebody must have been missing that day or something, and I had to teach like saxophones. It was like a big band, and I had to teach it was like saxophones, flutes, violins, and then something else. And I literally don't have a clue how a saxophone works. So I was like, "What do you think you should do?" It was so bad. They're in a different gear, so I don't know.
The flip side of orchestras and stuff, you say it's the popular side, and it took you quite far places, really. Ships is something that you've been on.
Yeah, I did cruise ships last year. I wanted to do cruise ships ever since I left Lipper, actually, just because I wanted to start travelling and earning money. But it took me a while to get the right group together. But now looking back, it's probably a blessing in disguise, because over those couple of years, I got involved in a couple of bands here. So like now when I come back from the ships, I've got something to fall back on. We did a contract last year for Carnival, and that was amazing. It was really fun. But we were supposed to be going away again with Princess, but obviously coronavirus had different plans. I don't know what's going to happen, because I don't know when the cruise industry is going to get back at all.
So what kind of routine on the ships? Was it evening shows, day shows?
Yeah, it was. So we did 6 days a week, and we were playing it was different sets every day, but it was around 4 p.m, 3 or 4 till about 7 or 8. And then 3 days a week we had 3 sets, and 3 days a week we had 4 sets. So, yeah, and then we had one set where we did like with the band, so big end of cruise show kind of thing. But yeah, it was really fun. So we got a chance to get up at the islands in the daytime, as long as we were back in time to play. So that was cool.
And where did you go? What was some of the highlights of your trips that you went to?
So we were in the Caribbean. So we went. So the Carnival have got like studios where they send the musicians before. So that was really fun, because you get to go to the studio, and then you get to meet all the people that you're going to be on the ship with. So we spent 3 weeks there, and then we were like sailing around. Each cruise lasted a week, so there was lots of different places. But I think one of my favourite ones was, do you know Cozumel? It's like Mexico.
Okay.
It's like technically part of Mexico, but yeah, it's like a big island off the side. That was a really cool place. And the best other one was San Juan in Puerto Rico.
Nice.
That was really cool. That was everybody's favourite. But yeah,
so
making me sad because I'm not going on another ship for a long time.
I was going to say, so the longest time that you were on a ship was no longer than a week, or did you do longer stints on the ship?
So we were on the ship in total for 6 months, but like you could get off pretty much every day for like a few hours.
So you were there for essentially away from home for a very long time. Have you got sea legs? How did you feel with living on the boat?
I actually really enjoyed it. You know, like the first time I got off the ship. So the first time I got on, we had to stay on it for like 12 days because there was loads of paperwork and stuff because we were new and we had all these jobs to do. And then when we got off the first time after that, I was like standing on the pavement and I felt like I was on the boat. Like my whole body was swaying from side to side. I was like standing in a supermarket. It was really weird because my brain just hadn't like adjusted to the difference. So strange. But then ever since then, I kind of like got used to it. But some people hate it though. Like my sister came to visit me on the ship, and she was like, I don't know how you live here. Because she could feel the whole boat moving like all the time. Even when you're in the shower, you can feel it like swaying from side to side. But I liked it when you're in bed because it kind of rocks you to sleep, and that was really nice.
I was going to say, I've got friends of mine that have been on ships, Carnival like yourself, Princess, Norway, and they're singer dancers, and they're dancing and singing on a stage when outside on the sea it's like up and down. I can only implore them. I've got 2 left feet, unfortunately.
Remember that gig we set up, Sam, and the dance floor on the band was moving.
Oh.
No, this was a gig we set up. Oh, it was hilarious. So the stage was just like on the floor, but it was because people were dancing.
Really?
The band were like that, and we were like, keep going.
Well, we were scared that the thing was going to cave in because of how many people were jumping up and down, but it was fine. We were fine, and we got paid, and we got out there.
On the ship, like sometimes you would be playing, like, and then it would still be in port, but then whilst we were playing, it would set off. So sometimes you didn't know if you were sailing or not, and sometimes, you know, if you'd had a few drinks the night before, you weren't feeling very fresh. You'd be standing on stage, and you'd feel the boat like moving. Be like, oh, we've set off early. That's weird. And then you look outside and realise you're not even moving, and it's actually just you. Like, which is pretty bad. Only a few times.
Fantastic.
But yeah, sometimes I couldn't tell what was going on.
So you were part of a quartet, or was it a full orchestra on the cruises?
It was like a trio. It was an electric trio. So there was 2 electric violins and an electric cello.
And you had your own dedicated show, or were you told what to play? You were given all the dots. Tell us about that.
No. Oh no, I wish we'd been given all the music. Honestly, it was like the biggest job. Like, so they basically just let us play what we wanted. But whilst you were in the studio, they kind of came to check on you to see what you were practicing, so they kind of have an idea of what you were going to do. And obviously with the videos before they can see. But yeah, we had to get all the music ourselves. So it took a long time, and we had to do a lot of them to backing tracks as well. So, but luckily, because I'd started the quartet already, I already had like lots of arrangements from the quartet which I could use. The main challenge was like fitting them to backing tracks, getting them the right keys and stuff like that. And then yeah, we just tried to build it up as much as possible. And then whilst we were on the ship, we were making new arrangements as well, and we practiced them like, because we were playing electric instruments and we had nowhere to practice really on the ship. We used to practice in our little cabin, and the cabin's like a broom cupboard, like it's like where Harry Potter lives. It's tiny, and we all used to like be in the corner with this. And because I don't know if you've heard an electric violin that's not plugged in, but it doesn't sound very nice.
Really?
And we were all scratching away, like doing our little practicing. But yeah, we managed to add some new ones, so that's good. Yeah, it sounds horrible.
A mixture of classical and popular that you had to do.
Yeah, it was a mixture. Like, it depended on the day. So later on, we'd play all the pop stuff, but then sometimes everybody would be off the ship, and there'd be about 2 people watching us that didn't want to get off that day. So then we'd play something more classical. Actually, once we were playing, it went from like extreme to extreme. Like sometimes it would be like big, like completely packed and people partying and they're asking us like Cardi B and stuff like that, which we couldn't really play. And then other times there'd be like, literally, I remember once there was literally one person asleep on a sofa, and we were like, our manager was like, "You have to play," and we were like, "Surely it's better if we just let that person sleep." And he was like, "No, because Carnival has to have like entertainment on at all times or something." But yeah, it definitely varied a lot. But we did a lot of kind of pop music and stuff more than.
We talk about the playing. Do you want to play or something?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well,
yeah.
While Lara is getting set up, if you want to appear on the SCE Live podcast, please make sure that you give us an email. Send a little bio or your website or whatever you want to essentially perform or tell the people about any upcoming projects that you're working on. Send us an email, SCELive, SCELive@outlook.com, and hopefully you can be on the podcast in a couple of weeks' time. How are we getting on, Lara? Are we ready?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Fantastic. So, do you want to give us a little insight into what you're doing?
Yeah, well, which would you like to hear, a classical piece, a pop piece, or
let's do
a piece?
Can we do classical? Yeah, let's go classical.
Okay, cool. So this piece is a very popular wedding song. Lots of people like it for their walk down the aisle. And yeah, it's called Canon in D by Pascal. So I'm just going to play it along to this
Hey, fantastic. Well done, well done, well done.
Love it.
The wedding song.
Now, the one thing I'm going to say about that piece is that the royalty or the copyright on that song is recently expired, hasn't it?
Oh, really? I don't know.
Because there's a song that came out a couple of months ago by Maroon 5, Memories, that is literally the actual spit of that song. And apparently he took the first couple of notes of Canon in D and used it for the song, so he won't get copyright on it.
Interesting.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm not just a pretty face. I've got facts as well.
But when you have something like that, as you say, it must be so hard to transition to the popular side of music because it's such a lovely piece, and strings don't get the credit in popular pieces as they should, if you know what I mean. And it must be hard to make that transition. So
yeah,
you've got to be a good musician, I think, because most popular style musicians can't talk classical, if you know what I mean. You say, oh, it needs to sound like this. I know I say stuff to Sammy, and he goes, what you know, and I say, it needs to sound like. So you're kind of trying to explain it without theory, if you know what I mean. It's really, really difficult.
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard. Like if you're just classically trained, like, you know, even if you go to something like a conservatoire as well, especially, I think it's hard to transition. But it's the same the other way around. Like if you've only done pop, it's hard to transition to classical. Like that, it's quite rare that, I don't know, the two worlds kind of combine that much. I don't know, but yeah, I guess maybe like a place like Liverpool would be helpful for that, because then you get involved with the pop stuff early on. I guess everyone's different, aren't they? But yeah.
Ask what it was like to work with Nile Rodgers, though.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, that was really fun.
And how did that come about?
So what happened was he was running this youth project where he was remixing The Freak with Rudimental, and they were just like asking young people to apply, and they wanted all different types of instrumentalists. So they wanted string players, brass players, everything. And I just applied for that when I was, I think I was in second year at uni, and then I got onto that, and then yeah, that was really cool. We were in the studio called Rack Studios in London, and we did a little remix of The Freak, and yeah, it was fun. But I basically just kind of kept in touch since then, and then I just got this random email out of the blue I can't remember when it was, maybe like last year or the year before, and yeah, Niall basically was like, meet me at Abbey Road tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and I didn't know why. Yeah, and I read this email and I was like, what's this? I was like, this can't be real. And anyway, it was real. But he didn't even tell me why he wanted me to go there. So yeah, I went all by myself to London, and I got the tube and I arrived like at Abbey Road, and I still didn't know why I was supposed to be there. And then I signed in, and they were like expecting me. So I was like, okay, this isn't a joke. And then Niall arrived, and he was like, hey. And then he took me to his little studio, which is like at the side, and he explained this idea that he had where basically they had this project called 80 Symphonic, and they were not remixing, they were like reimagining all these hits from the 80s. And one of the hits was Let's Dance, which Niall had produced originally. And they'd basically got in touch with the producers who originally did them to like reorchestrate them and make a symphonic version of these hits. So Niall decided, instead of doing it himself, he was like, like I can ask someone else to like give this opportunity to somebody else, which is amazing, like such a nice thing to do, because he didn't have to do it, he could have just used anybody, but he decided to ask me if I wanted to help him out, because he'd remembered me from like the youth project before. So he was explaining all this to me in his studio, and I was just sat there like, act normal, like this is just act calm. Like it was bizarre, honestly. It was like a surreal day. But yeah, I'm so grateful for him for that opportunity, because it was amazing. It was really scary, but it was amazing to do that. So he wrote the arrangement for Let's Dance, the string parts, and then we recorded them like 2 days later. And I was in this orchestra with like all the best session players in London, like, and I was leading the orchestra, and I was like terrified. I was practicing the part all day the day before, like on repeat. I woke up and I just played it literally on repeat until I went to bed, like stopped for like a sandwich, and then because I just wanted to play it well. But they were lovely, like they were so nice, and it went really well. So yeah, it was a crazy experience, but it's really cool how he's he really wants to like help out young people. Like he didn't have to do that, but he's really like good like that, like giving opportunities to people who are just starting out, I guess.
That's it. I say though, I will be honest. I said to Sam before we came on, I said, since lockdown started, I'd say you have been the most creative person I've seen on any social platform whatsoever. And we should help you to push it a bit. But the Bohemian Rhapsody thing was unreal.
Oh yeah, I kind of carried away. I wasn't planning on doing the whole thing. I was like, I'll just record the melody of like the first bit. But then I couldn't start once I started. I had to do the entire song with all the weird harmonies and like, yeah, the guitar solos and stuff.
It must have kept you busy because it was just like insane. The amount of work you put into that was unreal.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Really? After when you launched it, you uploaded it. I thought, a bit of Bohemian. I'll have a look at that. And it went, and I was like, oh my god, she's actually played the whole thing.
I honestly wasn't planning on it, but it just kind of happened. I got a bit carried away.
It's great that you are like keeping yourself so busy in this approach, because you've just done another one as well, haven't you? What was the other one you've just done?
Yeah, I did Senorita.
Oh, that was it. Yeah,
by Camila Cabello.
I love the little. Didn't your sister write a comment or something?
Sister, yeah, sassy sister Pippa. Shout out to Pippa. Yeah, she was like, because there was one note which was out of tune, and I noticed it, and I messaged my sister. I was like, I'm fuming about this note, and she replied to me like, yeah. What did she say? 99% successful, just as good as the coil, or something like that.
This is for you.
Yeah, classic.
No, but it's brilliant, and I think you should just what you've done in the lockdown. You've kept well busy, and I think it's a credit to your musical skills, really, because you're recording them, you're uploading them, and people are seeing them. So we'll try and share it ourselves as well on the SCE Live, because it is brilliant. So we'll.
That's one that's actually escaped my viewing. So there's an extra view for you after this podcast. So you must have a large repertoire then of songs that you've equated over the last 4 or 5 years that you've performed, and that's led quite nicely into this new venture with Echo Strings.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's taken a while to build up, but yeah, it's good when it gets to the point when you get a request for a wedding and then you normally already have it, because a few years ago that didn't happen. But yeah, it's sort of been building up over the years, so it's good. And we were kind of forced to get a load of new repertoire for the cruise ship as well, because you had to have a lot of songs for that. So that kind of like pushed us to get more and more. So yeah, it's quite a big collection now.
and recently we've used new SCE Live to push things, hopefully going forward, and it's something that we wanted to push it as much as we can with the strings, and it's how we all met, really, because I was kind of on the phone, and I got this call, this name came through, right, I need to speak to Lara, we need to film on Tuesday, and this was the Friday, and it was great, but I don't know, how much can we talk about this, Sam?
We can dabble. We can talk. I haven't got the video ready, if that's what you're asking me. But essentially, we had a guest on a couple of weeks ago. I think it was our first guest. After our duo first podcast, we had Paul McDonough on, who is John Lennon, the tribute for John Lennon, and we've been working with Paul over the pandemic over these couple of weeks. They're trying to put together a new show that I've got a concept name of the John Lennon story. Now that's not the final name for it, but we're coming up with different ideas for an actual show Now, the show being a actual theatre show rather than a performance show, and Lara is actually one of the violin players that is actually on board with us, and well, we're all in concept phases at the moment, but it's something that we are looking very much forward to, aren't we, Chris?
We have, and we did film a brilliant promo. It was a real fun experience. We had Lara was there, she was involved, and it was a real fun evening. And literally, it the week later it was lockdown.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was just.
We were because there was things brewing, and we were in the venue and we were filming it, and then next minute, boom, it was gone. So it's something that we're gonna, as soon as we can come out, we're gonna get the ball rolling on it. And Lara, I know you're going to be heavily involved in this because it's the arranging side is something that's vital for this show to work. And I think with your knowledge, when you're knocking around with the likes of Nile Rodgers, we're in the right game to get the right person to help us to put it together. I've got to ask also, what was it like meeting Paul McCartney when you got your
that was really cool, but I was like, I'm going to say something that he's going to remember, like I'm going to make an impression on him, this is my one moment, and then my mind just went blank as soon as I arrived. I just didn't say anything. It was like, hello, goodbye. But
hey, was that a pun intended? It was a pun intended.
I should, yeah.
Chris, you like that one? I'm proud of that one as well.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
no,
the
cool.
show is something that's gonna kick off, I think, and we're all looking forward. As soon as we can and we can get the ball rolling, everything will be announced, and we will all be working on it. But we have the plans. The plans are in place, aren't they, Sam?
They're in place. We just need to wait for this awful pandemic to be over. And then we can really push on with a really exciting project. I mean, as soon as Paul and the three of us, Chris and I, discussed about the possible idea of it being a theatre show, I was kind of like, yeah, this is the one. We need to push this. So, we are coming to the end of our podcast, unfortunately. So Lara, this is your opportunity to sell yourself, your performance, Instagram, anything that you go and watch the Bohemian Rhapsody. I need to do some homework. I need to go. But if you want to sell yourself,
yeah,
go for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of my music stuff is on my Instagram. So yeah, I can tell you what that is. It's just Lara Simpson Music, and on the IGTV, that's where I've posted all my covers. So yeah. And my website is linked in my Instagram, so you can have a look at that too. Yeah.
And can I just one more that I really enjoy with the whole creative household of yours? Even your mum's creative because she's making masks.
Yeah, my mum started a mask factory.
It's amazing.
Yeah, she's honestly made, I think, nearly 1,000 masks since the pandemic began.
Wow, fantastic! That's absolutely fantastic.
Great. She's a very arty person anyway. She made her own wedding dress and stuff. Like, she went to the art college. But this is where she's come into her own. She's just been a map-making queen.
Well, Sam and I are going to invest in some, so...
Yeah.
Out in the
next week.
Absolutely.
And violins.
Yeah. It's been great to have you on, Lara. We're looking forward to doing the Beatles stuff, and we'll get this going when we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited. It's going to be a really cool project.
Excellent. Well, while Lara is preparing herself for the final performance, I think we'll have a pop one to finish. I think. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's SCE Live podcast. A little bit later scheduled than usual, as well we decided to, so deal with it. So please make sure that you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the information's there. Also, we're on LinkedIn as well. If you are a business owner, venue that has got some more information on when you'll be opening, and you fancy some entertainment for your pub, restaurant, venue, whatever it may be, go on to our website, which is www.clive.co.uk. Have a look at some of the fantastic artists that we have on our website, including Lara and her quartet, strings quartet, Echo Strings, if I can speak properly, if I've got my teeth in. Lara, thank you so much as always. Chris, thank you, and I'll see you next week, mate. Lara, take it away.